Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Jon-Bernard. This is Nick. We are the K-Roos brothers. This week we have a special guest on the show, Josh Culibao, which I just learned his older brother in Filipino.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the oldest brother?
I'm the youngest brother.
You're the youngest brother in your family?
Youngest brothers of 4.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah,
How'd you get the nickname older brother?
Essentially, I got it in the gym. I was always in the gym, and just, I don't know, the younger fighters always used to look up to me as like the older brother. So I just took it as it was, and it's just being funny that I was the actually youngest of 4 boys, and that all the boys at the gym call me Kuya. So
but
now
were you older than them at least?
Yeah, I was older than
Okay.
some of them. I was, but yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for coming on the show. We want to pick your brain apart, being a current UFC fighter on the roster, current featherweight. I want to get your thoughts on your last performance because you just did fight at UFC Perth. A lot of people think you won that fight. Let's be honest. Everyone on Twitter, a lot of MMA pundits said...
Wikipedia had like 8 out of the 12 media agencies said
really?
you won.
Yeah.
So look, we think you won that fight. I thought you came in with a high fight IQ trying to avoid the leg kicks, but some people thought that that's what lost you that fight.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, do you think you went in with the right game plan?
Well, the game plan was just obviously to get a finish and knock him out. But I think I got a little bit carried away with the crowd being there, and just being able to fight on home soil. And I think it got a little bit emotional and fought more emotionally than I did with my fight IQ. I do believe that I could have got him out of there, but I got a little bit too what is it?
Carried away with
but-
just like you just want the win. You're trying to get the victory.
Yeah. I just was a little bit playing to the crowd more than anything,
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's hard. Perth, Aussie fan base, it's good. Where do you find the hardest places to fight outside of Australia? You fought Vegas, you fought kind of elsewhere, Sydney. Where do you enjoy fighting the most?
Man, I think Fight Island was probably the best.
Yeah?
That was probably the best.
No crowd.
Yeah, during COVID. And just not only that, just like the way they treated you there. They treated you like a prince over there, Like one of their mottos over there was like anything, anytime, anywhere, they'll provide for you. That's like literally the motto. Like you'd pick up the phone at the hotel and that's their motto. It was like anything you want at any time. Like I remember I would pick up the phone and call room service and be like, oh, could we get some training mats in this room? And then it'd be done within 20 minutes, So
Every room's air conditioned.
Yeah.
Everything's pristine and brand new.
That's Middle
unreal.
Eastern hospitality.
Yeah.
And we like to cater.
And they had a Formula One track around the hotel that we could just like sit on the balcony and watch them race pretty much. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, so you want to go maybe another Abu Dhabi card
Yeah,
down
I would
the line?
love to. I'd love to be on those cards. Yeah.
So that's coming up. Well, touching on that loss, that now puts you to a 3-fight losing streak, which is very unfortunate because I think you won that fight. How big is your next fight in terms of you need to get that win? How important does it make your next fight in the UFC?
It's always huge. I always treat each fight as if it's like my last one. So I don't put any more added extra pressure on it, knowing that I am on a 3-fight losing streak. But yes, that is added pressure. But I do treat every fight as if it is my last fight. Like the last fight, I treated it, the training camp, as if it was going to be my last fight. So trying not to add any more pressure than what it is, because what we do is already enough pressure. I'm going in a cage to fight someone that has been training specifically to beat the fuck out of me. So, you know what I mean? So that's already enough pressure for me.
Bringing up the judges, right? Because there's been a lot of contention on the judges. Scorecards, some people don't know where these judges are pulling out these numbers from, right? It's happened to Sugar Sean. I'm pretty sure the last Australian card, a judge got kicked off and said, you're not going to judge the main event if you're going to be judging like that.
They said Tai Tuivasa won a round, which everyone was kind of blowing up
Yeah.
about. So.
Yeah.
So at what point do you think we need to change the criteria for UFC judging? Because more often than not, if you do leave it to the judges, people are going to be upset with the result.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I had this chat before with someone else, is that like, in other sports, you don't go into the second half of a footy game and be like, oh, you know what? I think I'm up. I think we're winning. You'd look at a scoreboard and you'd see if you're up or not. Where in fighting, we're going into each round thinking like, you know what? I think I did good that round. I think I'm winning. But you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't do that for any other sport that has a score. Like footy, basketball.
Soccer, yeah.
You don't go into the fourth quarter going like, oh, I think we're smashing these guys convincingly, but then you don't know if you guys are. So.
How much of the responsibility do you think lies on the fighter to try and go out there and get a finish? Or whereas some fighters will go out there with a game plan and say, I do want this to go to decision. You got the Bilaals, Merabs that don't necessarily go for a finish, but they go out there with a game plan to win by decision.
Yeah, for sure. Those are the types of fighters that are playing to the rule set. They're gonna make sure that, you know, at the end of every round, they're gonna steal the round by getting a takedown and holding and you know, getting dominant position. They're playing to the rule set. I understand that, but like, yeah, I'm just not a fan of that. Like when we're fighting someone, we should be fighting for the finish. That's what the whole point of fighting. It's like, I don't know how to put it. You know, yeah, I just
you're not doing your job properly if you're not going for a finish.
You're fighting to get the finish.
Yeah.
You know, you're not fighting to be like, okay, I'm going to win this round by this. I'm going to win this round by this. And yes, you win by a judge's scorecard, but like the whole point of fighting is to get a finish, submission or a knockout.
I think Strickland said in his last fight against what's his name, Costa. He said that he went in with like trying to get the game plan of I'm going to go for a finish, but then as the fight went on, he's like, you know, I'm just going to go get the win.
Yeah,
and they were both. Even Costa said, I didn't go for my, you know, total ferocity.
Yeah, apologize to the fan.
I just want the decision victory.
Yeah.
Is that starting to become a trend? Are coaches teaching fighters to fight that way?
I think what is the biggest persuasion for a lot of these fighters fighting the way they fight is I think that fighters have that show money and that win money. Now, a lot of guys are fighting to not lose rather than fighting to win. So when you're fighting to win, you're looking for finishes because you're fighting to win, right? Where when you're fighting to not lose, you're just scraping by just enough so that you don't lose. You know?
What do you think the solutions are for bad judging? Like, how can they fix it? Is it changing the criteria? Is it bringing in ex-fighters? What can they do to fix bad decisions?
First of all, I think maybe open scoring has to be applied. So at least both teams know if you're up on score.
Well, like between each round, they give you an update.
Between each round and open scoring, you go into the second round knowing that you won the first round or you know that you lost the first round. I think judges have to have some form of martial art background or have done some form of, you know, martial arts in a sense of competition so they understand it as well, not just watching fights. You can get any Joe Blow on a couch watching a fight and they can judge it themselves. Like, makes no sense.
Yeah, my scoring system's terrible.
Yeah. So a person that's like an ex-fighter would be perfect. Someone that's done it before and been there, so they understand the scoring. And yeah, they have to have a clear criteria of, you know, damage is like above all should be scoring the most. So yeah, I think those three things.
Then say if you're a judge for the Merab Sugar Sean fight that just happened.
Yep.
Merab got obviously a lot of control time, but didn't do a lot of damage with it.
Yeah.
Do you see then him not dominating and winning that fight, or do you still think even though Sugar Sean probably didn't land as much as well, Merab still won the fight?
Yeah, I think Merab did an amazing job that last fight. I think he did damage. I think he was able to neutralize what Sugar was good at and took it to him and do what he always does to everyone, which is outpace him, outgrapple him, and you know, be like a wet blanket on him. So he did what he had to do. But in terms of damage in that last round, where Sugar was able to hurt Merab, like that's Sugar's round.
Yeah. That's because he probably knew he was down and thought he had to go for the finish.
Exactly.
Well, talking about, you know, some MMA journalists that don't know shit about MMA, that's become a topic of discussion online right now. Ronaldo Moicano, who just beat Benoit Saint Denis, really came out and blasted the rankings.
Yeah.
He said, you know, it's bullshit that he didn't move from being ranked 11th after a pretty convincing victory.
Yeah.
Do you guys pay attention to fighter rankings at all? Because they are done by MMA journalists. Dana White even backed him and said, Moicano, we're very sorry about that. We're going to get an AI model and get rid of these scumbag journalists that don't know shit about MMA.
The people that currently do the rankings have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, he didn't move up a single ranking in the lightweight division.
I would care if I was in the rankings, but since I'm not in the rankings, I actually don't care. But yeah, look, again, those journalists, they don't do what we do. You know, they're not the ones in there. They don't understand it either. So yeah, I think maybe, probably we do stick it to the AA. But I would care if I was in the rankings and that happened to me. I'd definitely care. But since I'm not in the rankings, it doesn't bother me.
As a fighter, do you think the rankings necessarily matter anymore? Because you've got fighters like Khalil Rountree getting a title shot when, you know, you've got a clear contender in Ankalaev, or, you know, people outside the rankings getting big fights. How do you view the rankings as a fighter? And even though you're not necessarily in the rankings, do you think they matter as much anymore?
To be honest, I never thought that the rankings did mean much because what people need to understand, as much as fighting is a sport and there is a ranking system and then there's the champion and then you got 1, 2, all the way to 15, it is an entertainment value. Now, the UFC is, as much as it is the sport, it is an entertainment. So people are going to want to watch the fight that's going to bring the most seats, not the fight that makes the most sense, but the fight that's going to bring the most bums on seats, sell the most tickets, sell the most pay-per-views, and the people that are going to want to watch. Like, yes, you got Ankalaev, but then people really want to see Ankalaev and Pereira?
Well, you're right.
You know,
right.
but
people are complaining about Bilal being champion or, Merab being champion because ultimately they're not going to be able to sell.
Pay-per-views, pay-per-views aren't going to sell.
And I reckon that's exactly why Colby got his last title fight against Leon.
Because
he sells.
Because he sells. He knows how to talk shit and he knows how to promote a fight and he puts bums on seat, whether you want to see him win, whether you want to see him lose. He's got that entertainment value, So, so in terms of it being a sport, and yes, there has to be like a criteria of like, this guy's the number one guy or this guy's... It's the fact that if you can sell tickets and be entertaining.
Well, I'm glad that you bring that up. Who do you think in your division is the next person in that featherweight division is the next person to sell pay-per-views? Because you got up-and-comers like Diego Lopez, who's had really great showings. You got Volk, who's still in the division that wants that title shot. Who's the next it guy in the featherweight division, do you say?
Man, I think the way Diego is going and what he was able to do to Ortega in his last fight, I think he's the next guy that the UFC will start to push and really make a big deal out of him. I mean, he has done amazing in the last 2 years or
he's
however
not scared
long
to strike.
He's
entertaining.
He gets in there and he's looking for the finish every single fight. He's going out there and looking for a finish. So I think Diego is probably the next guy in the division that's going to get the big push. And
do you think that Volkanovski has to verse him eventually, or do you think Volk just holds out for a title shot?
Nah, Volk doesn't owe anyone anything. I think he should get the next title fight, and then he fights whoever.
Well, speaking on that, Volk did come out recently in an interview, and he did say, look, he'd be happy to take a Conor McGregor fight before taking that Ilya Topuria rematch.
Yeah.
What do you think is the next best move for Volk? Is it the title fight, or is it taking another fight and getting that win, and then, solidifying that next title shot? Because how do you see that fight with him and Ilya going, a rematch?
The first fight, I think Volk was winning. I think he was winning
the
first
round
round, yeah, and then he just got caught with Ilya's power, But I think for someone like Volk, he just fights the winner of Max and Ilya, because if you really think about it, two belts are on the line there, the BMF and the featherweight. So whoever wins essentially is holding both belts. So whoever wins that, he's in line to fight whoever wins that fight.
And staying on Volk, because you're someone that's fought lightweight and featherweight, he's now only lost one featherweight fight. Realistically, Volkanovski hasn't lost in the featherweight division other than to Ilya Topuria. Do you think he looks at that and goes, okay, I've lost to Islam, but it doesn't really affect me that much? Or even like someone like Diego Lopez, does he still see Volk as someone that's a big boogeyman in the division?
So that's the thing, is that everyone has that sort of like that goldfish memory where, like, just because you had one bad performance, people forget about all the shit that you've done before, all the accolades that you've done before. People forget that how Volk absolutely ran through everyone, ran through Max, ran through Brian, ran through Yair. He ran through everyone. And people forget just because you went up division to fight Islam,
I've legitimately forgotten about it.
And he got knocked out by Islam. So everyone sees that, and then they see the knockout him with Ilya, and then they just completely discredit him for everything that he's done. It's just one of those things that you just got to sort of go out there and remind them again. It's people have short-term memory here in watching the fights. All they see is the last fight, and they'll judge you on the last fight.
Do you think the next move for him? Because there has been rumors of Volk going up to lightweight. Do you think it would be best for him to go up to lightweight, even though he probably won't go for a title because he's faced Islam, but he'd have a lot of big fights in the lightweight division, right? Or should he stay and try and dominate featherweight like he has done before and regain the title?
It depends up to him whether he wants money fights or whether he wants to fight for legacy again. Like whether he wants to go and become 2-time featherweight champion, or whether he wants to cash in and get all the big fights, the Dustin Poirier fight, the Charles Oliveira fight,
McGregor fight,
potential McGregor fight. All those guys are all money fights. People
if you're talking money, Volk, get that saves your career. I reckon go for the money.
What would you do?
Yeah, what would Josh do?
You're in Volkanovski's shoes.
Yeah.
You've been a champion. You've earned the money as well, but you have the opportunity to earn more money. What are you doing?
Booyah him, older brother.
I'd definitely be chasing the money. I'd definitely going for the fun fights. I feel like, at that stage of his career, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone anymore. You've already you've already laid out your legacy being probably, you've beaten all featherweight Jose Aldo, Max, you've beaten the former champions. You've already stamped your legacy. Get that get that paper, man. Get that paper, bro.
Well, speaking on people that have kind of done it in the UFC, Conor McGregor, right? This guy's a lot of promises. Fight in December, fighting in January. But then you see him on a live stream, he looks like he's coked up and he's...
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
He's slurring his words.
He's slurring his words. He's drinking on a live stream. He's putting $50,000 on a blackjack hand. Now, do you think we're going to see the same Conor McGregor enter the UFC, or is he essentially done?
Nah, that's it. I think that's it. He's done. He's done. You're not going to see the same Conor that came up. What was that saying of them sleeping in silk sheets? It's hard to
wake up in the morning in silk sheets. Yeah.
I think that's exactly. What does he have to prove? He has all the money now.
Yeah.
He's got all the fame. He has businesses. He's sold.
He's got 2 fights left on his contract. Though. Do you reckon they're going to hold him to it, or he doesn't care?
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
How much you see him on the live stream? What is he doing on the live stream? Saying that he was, I'm ready. I'm gonna fight Chandler in December, and then you see him a couple weeks ago, or how many days ago that was, of him just being hammered on his live stream.
He was posting his results of his drug tests on his Twitter. Yeah. You're an active fighter. He said he's the most tested fighter. How often do you actually get tested as a fighter?
Me personally, man, it's always random. It's actually I got tested on the weekend.
Did you?
I was at my place. I had a little barbecue going. This dude rocks up.
Hopefully, we're having a big night. You all
nah,
good?
no big night. No big night for me.
So if he's posting these tests, he's in the testing pool and actually passing these tests.
Yeah.
So he can't be coked out of his mind unless he's found a loophole. So Conor McGregor not coming back.
Nah, he's not coming back.
Okay.
He ain't coming back.
Okay. Well, I want to get your thoughts because Dana White does say he's going to have some announcements coming soon that he's officially going into boxing. What do you think that means for the UFC and the potential for UFC fighters post their career to go into that boxing route?
Yeah, it's massive. That's awesome. I think that's a very smart thing to do. I think what that Sheik is doing with where he's making all these big, massive money fights that are huge, all in a short amount of time. Like he's just throwing money at it. So I think Dana jumping into boxing as well is going to be massive.
He finally have the money behind it with Turki Al-Sheikh. In terms of how it would affect Dana running the UFC, do you have any reservations? What's your kind of relationship like with Dana, Hunter, the matchmakers? Because I feel like we saw that Fighter Inc. documentary. They're very hands-on. They're talking to the fighters, matchmaking. What's your relationship like with Dana and the War Room crew?
I've never had any issues with them. They just tell me who I'm fighting and I say yes, and tell me where and when, and just let me know and I'll be ready to fight. So I've never had any issues with Sean, never had any issues with Mick. So, and I don't really get to have too much contact with them. It's just all through management and stuff.
Awesome.
So,
and what's the trajectory that you want to go on? Best case scenario, you win your next fight. How do you want to go through this featherweight division? Ultimately, you want to be in the rankings.
Yep.
What's the best case scenario for you within the next 2 years?
I smash everyone. I get 6, 7, 8 fights in this next 2 years, and I'm looking at top 5, and then obviously I still want to fight for a belt. I feel if you're doing this sport and you're just doing it for a paycheck, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I feel like when it gets tough and hard, you're just gonna quit. It's the wrong reasons. I'm in this sport because I wanted to compete against the best and prove it to myself. And I still want to be a champion. I've always wanted to be a champion ever since I was a teenager. I've always wanted to be a UFC champion. Finally in the UFC, so now I want to be a UFC champion. So yeah.
Because you made your UFC debut 2020.
2020.
Been 4 years now. It's like, has it been what you expected, the UFC, or has it been harder than you thought? Like, how's your experience been so far?
Yeah, well, obviously you don't expect to lose, and man, you're fighting like I said, you're fighting the best guys in the world, and you have one off night, and that's it. One mistake, and you've lost. So, it's definitely been a massive reality check, but it's also been the dream that I've always wanted to be able to do this full time, train full time, and fight full time. So.
Well, in Ireland, you've got Cage Warriors. Here in Australia, we've got Eternal. They're kind of like the feeder to the UFC. What are the biggest jump ups and the biggest differences between when you're fighting in, locally and regionally to fighting in the UFC? What would you say the biggest differences are?
The biggest difference would have to be just the media and then feeling the pressure of people watching you. But in terms of fighting, it's still the same thing. Like whether you're fighting at the RSL down the road
Yeah.
or you're fighting in a sold out RAC arena. It's you're still doing the same thing that you're doing anyway. You're fighting, but probably the biggest difference is knowing that there's people watching you, judging you, and that plays a lot on a fighter's mental. So.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole fight week, media attention,
yeah.
constant. You guys will be moving around by PR everywhere, going
yeah.
from one room to a next
To
room.
another interview and this
Yeah,
interview, and
it can be tough.
and it's just literally the same generic questions, and you got to sort of answer the same generic question with a different answer, and it's like as much as you want to show yourself to the media, it's like to the world because through the media, but it's like you're literally asking me the same questions over and over again.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you as well. You've been on a fight night card. You've been on a pay-per-view.
Yep.
Is there a massive difference between a fight night and a pay-per-view? Like, is your preparation different? The media attention?
Nah, the fights, like I said, the fight is still a fight at the end of the day, and I treat every fight like it's my last. But the media attention, yeah, for sure. The media, there's definitely a lot more media that goes into it. A lot more interviews, a lot more podcasts, a lot more of everything, and dealing with fans that come, So
because the Apex has come under a lot of criticism lately that they said that the fights in there aren't, they should be put on either not as often or that the cage is a bit too small. Do you think that the Apex should continue with the way it's going with the fight nights there?
Nah, I think that as much as I enjoyed fighting at the Apex, I enjoyed fighting there, but I think in terms they definitely use it for something else, but the fights should be always somewhere in a different location. Still. The Apex is, I think, been used now.
Yeah, they're starting to do that with some fight nights. They're moving. I mean, there was the Mexico fight night.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, so I mean, like they're starting to move away from that. But yeah, I think you want to feed off that crowd sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's a different energy when there's
for sure.
a sold out arena,
For
whether
sure.
you're on the prelims or
100%.
not. You know what I mean?
100%.
But I want to get your thoughts, especially for Australian MMA fans. Is there anyone we should be keeping an eye out? Maybe someone you train with. Who's the next up and coming star in Australian MMA that we don't know of?
Man, I said in a different interview a few guys, and then now they're in the UFC in Quillan Salkild and Cody Haddon. But there's also Colby, who is a bantamweight fighting out of Freestyle, which is Volk's gym.
Okay.
He should be in contention for either Dana White Contender Series show or in the UFC. Man, there's so many good guys. It's too hard to name them all on the top of my head, but yeah. Colby, who I've trained with in the past, I think he probably deserves a shot at Dana White Contender Series or the UFC straight away. Right now you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah,
but
I didn't mean
I can't really think
I like
of
it
them
now.
now.
You've given us a lot of names. I want to keep an eye out for sure.
Colby. Who else? George Mangos out of Lions Den. All these young kids, they're like in their early 20s, and they're just absolute beasts. So they've got time to improve before they even get to the UFC, but definitely, you definitely see some potential in them guys.
Don't want to put you on the spot as well, but any Filipino fighters?
Filipino, man, there's not many, man. To be honest, I don't know too many Filipino fighters that are fighting or coming through, or probably their parents convinced them, like
following Manny Pacquiao,
my parents tried to convince me to just be an electrician or be a nurse or something, But yeah, no, not that I know of, no Filipino fighters.
We've got a pay-per-view this week, and I feel like it's kind of fallen on deaf ears, this pay-per-view. It's not the most stacked card. I think it's probably one of the worst cards of the year. And I'm not having to go to the UFC. It feels like they've just kind of put this one together to fill the gaps. Alex Pereira, Khalil Rountree headlining. What are your thoughts on this pay-per-view? Do you think it's going to kind of under-deliver? And that's been probably the criticism online. If you look at the embedded views, if you look at the star power on the show, what are your thoughts on this upcoming pay-per-view?
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like they're just throwing them together. But like, with that being said, I feel like the cards that are sort of thrown together like the way they are, they usually they deliver, and usually like all the fights go to a finish, or So, and then the cards that you expect to be all fire card, end up being all decisions and end up being a bit boring. So you never know.
We had Tyson Pedro on last week. He says he thinks Khalil Rountree can get it done. and it's going to be a striking fest. Khalil Rountree's promise to not take down Alex Pereira. He said, "I promise you, I'm not going to take it down. It's going to be they're just going to stand up and strike each other."
Between the two of them, when you said there's only been one takedown ever.
Exactly. Over in their UFC careers, there's only been one takedown between the two of them. In saying that, Kamaru Usman has also come out and said he's gonna back Khalil Rountree to get it done and surprise a lot of people. How do you see this fight going?
Oh, I think Khalil gets stopped. I think he gets knocked out. Big left hook.
I think it happens pretty quickly too, within 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think probably the first round, the way Khalil fights and the way obviously Alex fights, it's just like two trains running towards each other. It's like you know it's going to be a car crash. Someone's getting finished, but
almost like a heavyweight fight. Like they're going to go for a finish.
Yeah,
they're going to get
I believe. Yeah, Pereira gets it done pretty early. As much as I like Khalil, he's aggressive, and you've seen him beat up guys and look like ruthless when he was beating up these guys. I think he's going to be on the receiving end of it this weekend.
Yeah, another fight that's probably highlighted on there. I like the Kayla Harrison fight. If I had to give my best picks, it's just definitely,
Kayla Harris.
Yeah, because they're paying $1.03.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna have to try pick the round when it's gonna be finished. But what are your thoughts on Kayla Harrison? Do you think she's gonna be dominant in that bantamweight division for the females?
Oh yeah, just the size of her and just her physicality and her.
Sure, she did to Holly.
Yeah, Holly's like Holly's whole game is keeping it standing and being able to strike from a distance. And look what she did to her.
Yeah.
Well, her manager, Abdulaziz, has called out male fighters and said Kayla could potentially fight male fighters. You entertained by that idea at all?
That's silly. That's silly. Then that's just silly. That's just silly. That's just asking for. That's just clickbait. That stuff.
Yeah.
That's just clickbait.
So hang on, I just want to get you. You would never jump in the ring with Kayla Harrison?
If she can make 145 for sure, let's do it.
Hey, the money fight. That's the money fight.
This is my money fight, guys. This is my money fight.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing we do with a lot of guests that we have on our show is contenders or pretenders. And we want to highlight the featherweight division because that's the division that you fight in. Pretty much we want to say, are these fighters contenders or pretenders when it comes to fighting for a title?
And when we say contender, it means they're an actual realistic opportunity of winning the title.
Okay.
And pretender, you don't see these guys winning the title.
Okay.
Starting with Max Holloway, the number 1 contender for the featherweight champ.
Contender.
Definitely a contender?
Definitely contender.
How do you see that fight going with him and Ilya?
I think Max gets it done. I think
Really?
he puts volume on, and I think probably finish Ilya late. I think he gets him done late. I think every round he sort of changes gears and he puts more and more volume. Where we haven't seen Ilya go too much in the deep water, so you've seen him finish a lot of guys. But yeah, I think Max gets it done.
What about Aljo? Contender or pretender? As someone that's kind of held the bantamweight title, is he a contender at featherweight?
Yeah, he's a contender. I think he's a contender.
Because I think he has to win maybe 2 fights before he goes for a title.
Probably one, to be honest. I think he was calling for a fight with
Mosba, Evelev.
Yeah, well, that was meant to happen.
Yeah.
And he got injured, no?
Mm-hmm.
And then
So like the winner of that fight will probably get a title
probably
shot.
fight for a title shot,
They're fighting in Vegas, UFC 310, I think it is. So I just don't think if he wins that fight that it'll go straight away to a title shot.
Well,
I
it
feel like he's got a
depends.
verse.
It depends on the fashion too. That's what I mean. It's like, again, as much as it is the sport, you winning a fight, but it's the way you win the fight.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of been offside with the UFC here and there. Aljo about the way he finishes,
the way he fights. Yeah, the way he
yeah.
fights. Yeah, that's true.
So,
Because if Topuria does lose to Holloway, then you got Diego Lopez, Volkanovski, and Topuria who are all in line for a title. Then the winner of Everlov versus Sterling, they're in line for a title as well. So it kind of comes a bit jumpy there. Who actually gets the title shot?
Well, see again, Mosva Evelev, he's on like a 8-fight win streak, no? But there's no respect on his name because he doesn't bring that entertainment value that we're talking about, So, yeah.
do you think that criticism is fair? Because you see someone like Muhammad Mokaev get cut, guy on a 7-fight, 8-fight win streak,
And he's young and he's
and
talented.
he's young and he's got a massive social media following, but still gets the axe. Now I know there's a lot that's happened outside of the cage, but you see the criticism online for Merab, Bilal, and it's their style of fighting mixed with them not being as entertaining and not being able to sell fights. But if you're talking about a professional sport, do you not want to have the best?
You want to,
In your promotion. So do you think it's a fine line between having the best and also having the most entertaining, or do you just want to be able to sell tickets and sell fights?
Well, then it's sort of not, it doesn't become a real sport then, does it? It's just the best.
Becomes WWE.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
picking the fun fights for all the time. You need you need it to be a sport. Like when this winner fights this winner, and that's how it should be. So yeah, I agree with you.
Ultimately, though, you just want people to be going out there to finish the fight. I think that's where you're going to get the most entertainment. Like there should be some incentives for finish fights, and there are bonuses.
Yeah.
But not just to do the get control and,
Yeah.
and smother them
Yeah.
for
Well, that's-
however long.
That's it.
Staying on Contender or Pretender, Movsar Evloev.
I think Pretender. I think he could possibly get to a title shot, but I don't think he would ever win against those guys.
There's another level above him.
In terms of striking, he's going to try and do everything the same, try and take down and hold and win the fight like that. But I just don't see those other guys in the top being controlled.
One that might happen in the future, and I think will happen in the future, Sugar Sean entering featherweight potentially. Is he a contender or pretender at featherweight?
Pretender.
Really?
Pretender. I think what he gets away with at bantamweight is his length, height, size, reach. That's what he gets away with.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the featherweights, they're just the same size as him. Tall, long. I mean, Volk, Ilya isn't, but think about Max, think about Yair, think about, all these other boys. They're
Because if you think, how would a Max Holloway Sugar Sean fight go?
oh, see, that's that
Yeah.
entertainment value.
Yeah.
There's some good fights to make when
Yeah.
Sugar Sean eventually does go up. Last one, Diego Lopez.
Contender.
Definitely?
Definitely a contender.
He's not far off a title shot. I mean,
No.
he's the backup.
Yeah.
He's the backup. In that case, you think he can win the title?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's just his style of fighting. He just goes out there like a whirlwind. And whether he goes out and just, just sprints at his opponents and just tries to go for the finish. But I mean, it's a double-edged sword the way he fights, is that like he leaves himself very open as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Another little segment that we have planned is fill in the blanks with Josh Culibao. So fill in the blanks, we can say blank, and you're going to kind of give us an answer to the question.
Is that a one-word answer?
Yeah, you can kind of piece
Try
it
to
together,
get
you'll
one word.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Starting with blank will be the featherweight champion in 1 year.
Volkanovski.
Volk will regain the title. You'd love to see it as an Aussie. You're getting behind him,
Yeah.
for sure.
I like to see that happen.
Blank will fight Conor McGregor in 1 year.
No one. He's done fighting.
He's done.
He's done fighting.
All right, I think you're correct. I can't really argue.
Hey, it
with
could be
that.
Volkanovski as well.
I think we're just
doubled
going
up on that.
we're going to see him either boxing or he'll be an analyst on a live stream. You know? Yeah.
Off his head.
Okay. Blank could be double champion in a year. There's a couple of contenders for this.
Yeah, all right. I think Dricus
Wow.
and probably Islam.
Makachev.
But I don't think he would fight Bilal.
So Bilal have to lose
So
it.
Bilal would
Islam.
probably
Would
have to
Bilal
lose,
have to lose his
yeah.
belt? But
Which could
I think
potentially
Dricus and Islam.
Not Pereira.
For what?
Well, Pereira does have that. He has kind of sought out to say that he would like to fight DDP at middleweight. Go back
I don't think
down.
he's gonna make that weight again. The way he's,
Mm.
look at the size of him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
it's fair.
he's a big light head. I don't think he's going back.
And he
Dricus has
won't.
spoken about Trump wanting to have to go up.
That
and-
would
and
work.
fight. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Dricus is a big dude, but he could still make middleweight. I think him going up to light heavyweight would
And Pereira at heavyweight, don't see happening.
the guys are too big. As soon as they get a hold of Pereira, I think it's
They could just wrestle him.
it's a whole different ball game. It's another 30 kilos on top of you, Yeah.
This one's a funny one. Be honest as you can. Blank will be the next fighter to piss off Dana White.
The next fighter to piss off Dana White.
He's already been critical of some main events that have featured Merab, main events that have featured, Bilal. He wasn't too pleased with Muhammad Makayev.
Mental
Mhm.
Cape.
Who do you think is next to be in the firing line for the UFC?
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, you don't see anyone in your division or any division above go probably either a boring fighter or thinks too too good of himself or herself?
It's hard to throw someone under the bus.
Yeah, true.
I'd go with Conor McGregor. I feel like Dana's not going to
I
get
don't
the
think
fight.
he's
They're
pissed
going
with
to have a falling out.
Nah, because Conor is a sell. He's never gonna.
Yeah,
he
exactly
doesn't get
right.
angry. He doesn't
Can't get
he doesn't
angry.
get angry. You can't get angry. You can't
Yeah.
get angry at Conor. But man,
Yeah, maybe
I-
Aspinall. Aspinall, who's been going at John Jones, who's kind of Dana's boy right now.
I think he's after that fight is done. I think then they make Tom versus whoever has the belt next, whether it's Stipe, whether it's John. But I both of them are retiring now.
Yeah, they're done.
Allegedly,
They're done.
Allegedly. I think John Jones is just saying that, and this money fight between him and Aspinall will eventually. Like, how do you say no to that? How are you the UFC and not want to make that fight? It's what everyone's asking for. So I think that should happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't want to throw anyone. I can't, not that I can think of. I can't throw anyone under the bus that I can think of that would piss off Dana right now. Probably like, I don't know, someone that, I don't know, those boring fighters. I don't know.
Yeah.
Literally, I could say the whole roster is boring if they're going to. All my last opponents that have been holding me down is boring now.
Let's put that. Yeah, let's go with that. All of Josh's last opponent.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay. Nah, well, let's go into the preview of how you see 307 going. It's in Utah. Like you said, it can survive. It can probably surprise a lot of people with the fight.
Yep.
I'm sure when they had to throw a main event together for 300, people were pleasantly surprised with how that went with Fury and Alex. Kevin Holland versus Roman Dolidze. How do you see that fight going? Kevin Holland's coming in as a favorite. He's kind of been surprising throughout this year. He's always been putting his hand up. How do you see that fight going?
Again, this is a middleweight fight now.
Yeah.
I think Roman Dolidze is very underrated. He can grapple and he can strike, and he's just a bigger guy. Kevin is a natural welterweight. So
He struggled
I
with
think
some strikers as well in the past too. Like he was a really bad matchup with MVP.
Yeah.
MVP doesn't utilize the wrestler at all. So
No.
I think that might be a little bit of a headache, like you said. For him.
Yeah. Well, MVP's just got that annoying jumping style, karate style, where you just like, you can't track that type of fighter down, and you want to get to them, but they're just always out of distance. So.
And the thing with Kevin Holland, I think the stat reported is since October 2021, he's been the most active fighter in the UFC.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Does that catch up to you in the octagon when you obviously haven't had long layoffs? You're always backing up on short notice.
Yeah, for
Is that
sure.
going to catch up to him in this fight?
Constant weight cuts, but also it means you don't have to do training camps. I realize I feel training camps take it out of you too. So it's like, again, it goes both ways. I'll have a short fight. I don't have to have such a big 3-month training camp getting ready for someone. And also, it's just, I don't know. He's definitely fighting short notice and just getting money. He's definitely getting paid for it.
Yeah. Well, I like Roman as well. Like you said, he's the incredible grappler. And I think he can get it done as the underdog. You know what I mean? He had a previous grappling win as well. Like, I'm showcasing that style. Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. We all going with a unanimous Kayla Harrison. It's a mauler.
Yeah. She's paying $1.02.
Yeah, you're right.
$1.10 is actually a bit of value there.
$1.10. I mean, you add it to the multi. Do you think Kayla Harrison calls for a title shot after this?
She has to. She's gonna dominate this chick, and then you have to. Like, what else is next for her?
Yeah.
She's getting up there in age as well. She's not like got time to waste.
Very true. Jose Aldo versus Batista.
Can't go past the GOAT, the Jose Aldo.
Jose, you're back another outsider.
Yeah. Oh, he's not the favorite.
He's 215.
No, bro, chuck your money on him. He's value, bro.
That's what I say. He's one of the best featherweights of all time. So he's coming down. He's already a bit heavier. He's a naturally big bantamweight. Why wouldn't you take the value?
Exactly.
Realistically,
it's because they're just saying he's a bit older and he's stepped away from the sport. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, yeah, we're talking about a Hall of Famer. Do you think he could make a road back to the title, or he's really just here to pass the torch, but he's actually surprising a lot of people and winning fights?
Man, well, if you do think about the stat that Merab wasn't able to take him down, and look what Merab is literally doing to everybody, which is pretty crazy to think. And Jose Aldo's up there in age. He could definitely, probably I'm just an Aldo fanboy.
You never know. You never know.
Definitely with Aldo, he could.
Yeah,
Contender.
Jose Aldo, contender. Yeah, no, I'm going to back him as the underdog as well. A couple underdogs on this card. Pennington versus Pena.
I don't pay too much attention to them too. So I wouldn't know. Probably.
No, I think that's
Probably,
fair.
probably Pena. Probably Pena.
Well, I think that's what the biggest criticism for the card is that when there's a co-main, it's a female fight that, isn't quite that interesting.
But it's not that just a female fight. It's a female fight that there's just not a lot of buzz around. And Sean Strickland had the same criticism when Pennington was on his card earlier in the year. It's just like, they're not doing enough to kind of sell their fights and get the casual fan interested. I mean, it's hard to say. For this one, I'm going with the favorite. And if Pennington gets a win, I think she's going to have some words to say about Kayla. Yeah, I think that's probably the build-up.
Is Pennington the favorite?
Yeah, just shorter, 230 to 235.
Okay.
No, that's.
Or $1.90.
I'll double check it.
Yeah.
She's $1.60.
$1.60.
Pennington's $1.60.
Nah, I'll go the underdog on that.
Oh, yeah?
I think so. Yeah, Penna.
Okay.
Didn't she just fight for the title last?
I believe so, yeah.
I haven't focused too much on it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
And Pereira Rountree, I think we're all unanimously saying that's just going to be a knockout.
It's going to be a knockout for Pereira.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think Pereira's a bit too short here. He's $1.20, which is like, considering I get he's on a massive win streak, Rountree's out of the top 5 in the rankings. But for someone that has the ability to actually strike him and kind of knock him out, I feel like it could be a bit tighter. I don't know. I am worried to bet on Pereira because the same way, like, he could knock him out, he could get knocked
That's
out
what I
as
mean.
well.
With those type of fights, it's literally one mistake, one punch, one strike, and it's literally your multi's down the drain.
As a fighter, I know you can't bet on the fight, especially here in Australia. But do you ever look at the odds and does that impact you going in? Like, hey, I'm listed here as an underdog.
So I'm not much of a big gambler, but
Yeah.
my brother is, and he always shows me, Josh, what do you reckon about this? And he'll show me his picks, and I'll always have something to say. But he usually gets them all right. But yeah,
Good IQ.
yeah. Well, he's pretty good. He's pretty good with his picks. But yeah, yeah.
Doesn't
That's
it-
not something you really focus on.
Yeah,
is
no,
it?
Nah,
yeah.
I don't really.
kind of focus on your
Nah,
prep.
I don't focus on the gamble.
Yeah, fair enough.
I gamble with my health when I fight.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we got to give you our best bets, and this week you're going to go through your best picks for UFC 307.
So my best multi for this week is taking Alex Pereira head-to-head at $1.20, taking that into Kayla Harrison by KO or TKO at $2, taking that into Jose Aldo, $2.15, 3-leg multi, you're looking at about $5.50. Great value multi, 3 legs, it's very easy to get done.
Yeah, I'm going to take a bit of a gamble on my one. Okay, I'm going Pereira KO by round 2. Okay, Kayla Harrison to not go the distance, pretty much paying the same as KO submission, $2, right? Jose Aldo to win the fight. And also, I'm going with Pennington, the favorite. Okay, now that's probably the biggest gamble of them all. I don't like to bet on female fights. They do upset you a lot. But I'm going with Pennington to get it done.
Actually, I'll get your thoughts on this one because I saw this. The Aldo fight to go the distance is paying $1.36. Very short, but those 3-round fights in these bantamweight, lower weight categories, is that usually the case? They usually go the distance?
I think with the lighter guys, I think you don't see those one-punch knockouts, and plus the fitness of the lower weight guys, they're able to go the full 3, and
Pretty
not,
easily.
Yeah, pretty easily without gassing and getting hurt. So I do, yeah, I think it's a good bet. I think going the distance is a bet.
Yeah, because I feel like Jose Aldo especially, he's not going to get knocked out. It happened with Conor. I think it's going to happen again.
No. Yeah, I think it goes to decision. Or I see Aldo getting the finish.
That would ruin the bet.
Okay. Hey, he's just talking from experience. Now, I want to go through our MMA hot take. It's our segment that we do where we invite callers to give their MMA hot take, and we react to it, see if it's a hot take or if it's just a terrible take.
Yeah.
Call the 1-800 number if you have a hot take. We'll play it on the show. We're playing it with fighters. We're heading overseas soon, interviewing a lot of fighters. Your hot take could be played on the show. Let's hear this week's hot take.
Hey guys, my name's Tariq. I live in Brisbane, Australia, but I'm originally from South Africa. My hot take is Dricus du Plessis is the best fighter to ever come out of Africa. Thanks guys. Cheers, bye.
To come out of Africa,
Well, that's a
or to represent Africa. That's two different things.
Okay.
There's
And
two different
He
meanings.
said come out, so I'm going to hold him to come out of Africa.
That's a South African who's in Australia, who obviously has a bias to Dricus du Plessis being a South African. That was a big talking point leading up to that fight with Izzy.
Yep.
He was the only residing African fighter to stay in Africa, train out of Africa, and put himself into the discussion of the legendary African fighters. And we're talking Francis Ngannou, Izzy,
Yep.
Kamaru Usman. Now, to say he's the GOAT African fighter,
No way. No way.
I don't think it's there yet. I don't think his resume is there yet. Like, what has he got? 2 title defenses?
One.
Right?
His first title.
He won the
defense.
title and a title defense. I don't think you could put him up against Kamaru Usman right now. You know what I mean? And to say, yes, he got the best of Izzy, does he have the legacy of Izzy, especially at middleweight? Probably not. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
John, I agree everything that you said there. I believe Izzy still has it over him. Just because he beat Izzy doesn't mean he's done what Izzy's done. Izzy, how many times has defended the belt? He's, like what Izzy's already done is already more than what DDP has done. So I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's
the same thing. Same thing with Volkanovski. Just because Izzy's lost a couple fights doesn't erase everything he did before.
That he's done. Exactly.
But I'm going to say I think Kamaru Usman's the best fighter to come out of Africa. For me, he's up there with Anderson Silva as the best of all time.
And I know Izzy talks about Francis a lot. Francis is great. I don't think he's the GOAT African fighter. I think Kamaru Usman, the way he dominated his division at welterweight, and I know he's still got a lot. And he went up and fought Khamzat and had a really great showing.
Probably won
and
that
people
fight.
ignore that as well.
Yeah.
That 5-round fight, I think that it goes close to him winning that. I think a lot of people sleep on Kamaru as one of the best African fighters.
I think he's second. I think
Izzy?
I think it's Izzy, and then it goes Kamaru. I just think because Kamaru, who's Kamaru fought? Kamaru fought
Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington.
So he fought Woodley for the belt, no?
Yeah.
And then he fought Covington twice.
Yeah.
And then he fought Gilbert.
Gilbert Burns.
And then he fought Masvidal twice. Like
True.
Masvidal
Colby twice.
Masvidal is
a boxer now.
well, Masvidal
Trying
was,
to get back in the UFC. Yeah.
Masvidal was a former lightweight, so fighting a lightweight. Gilbert Burns, also former lightweight.
So you're stacking up
Colby,
resumes.
yeah, for sure. It's the people it's not as many, like if I said I'm going to fight a dude that has a terrible record, but just because it's a title defense, does that pump me up? It has to be also a guy that's like in their prime, who's meant to be the next big thing, and you beat them.
And Izzy, he beat Whitaker twice.
Whitaker, who was,
formidable opponents.
Yoel, who else as a champion? He's just beaten everyone. Jared Cannon,
He got that redemption win over Pereira.
Came back, Gastelum,
I think that Romero fight just always leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I know, but it's Romero. It's Romero. Yeah. You need a good dance partner too, and Romero wasn't doing much either. So.
For sure.
Anderson Silva,
But
so
to that caller though, DDP nowhere near.
Nowhere near. Sorry, we're getting.
Yeah, it's a garbage take in our books. But thank you for calling in. I mean, I think we gave you a pretty good analysis on that one.
Yeah.
He's not the GOAT. We're going with Izzy as the GOAT.
Yeah, Izzy is the GOAT.
You sold me on that argument.
Yeah.
Izzy is the GOAT. Now, Josh, thank you for coming in. I think we had a really comprehensive breakdown. Like I said, what do you want to say to your fans going into your next fight? When can we possibly see you next in the octagon? Call it out there.
Looking there.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the people that support me. Hasn't been good the last couple of fights. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be working hard. Obviously, I always train hard and put everything into each fight. But every single fight, I bring it. I'm always looking for the finish, and I'm always doing it to make you guys proud.
When can we possibly see you next? You want to fight before the end of the year? You're looking towards next year. Rumored Australian card early next year.
Yeah, probably the rumored Australian card next year. But who knows? Maybe one more by the end of the year. We'll see.
Okay, there you go. Josh Culibao, older brother. Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate your time. We should do this. Maybe in the lead up to your next fight.
That's fun. Yeah, for sure.
Legend, man. Appreciate it.